Hi, everybody. Good morning from Ireland. And I would like to say hello to Shauna. Shauna is joining in from Greece. So you're very welcome to this session, which is about seeing what it would mean for you if you joined me in the EcoPrint and Wet Felt Club. So if you're new to live streams with me, I would just like to say that Shauna will be answering questions in the comments and flagging comments or questions for me. And if you do have a question about what I'm chatting about, please just put question marks in the beginning and at the end of it. So thank you, Shauna, and I'll just remove you from the screen now. So it would be lovely to know where you're tuning in from. I've actually put this extra session on in the morning because I just thought that people in Australia and New Zealand, if you need any questions answered, now is the time to have them. We've just finished the 3-day boot camp, which shared all about the eco-printing in the Dirty Pot experience, particularly from the perspective of breaking it down into manageable chunks and showing you ways that even if you have very little time, you can eco-print and felt. And you can just do specific tasks on one day, and then you can go back and you can do the next task on the next day. So I'm not sure if you're like me and you have very little hands-on time at the moment, but that's what we were covering during the boot camp. And Sean will drop the link to the boot camp in the comments in case there's anybody here watching who hasn't. So let's get straight on to everything. What would it mean to you if you were able to achieve the eco prints that you really want to in a very shortened length of time? If you had support and training, and if you had a big library of content and you were able to basically fast track everything. We live in times when there is so much information available on the internet and so much information available everywhere, really, that everything you need to know about eco-printing is probably already there online. Now, I specialize in working without traditional powdered mordants, and there are some really, really important differences when you do that, although we're still using leaves, onion skins, and bark to print our textiles. But if we don't prepare them in the correct way, if we don't use the correct vegetation, etc., we won't get the prints that we want. So for me, my aim is to help you achieve the results that you would like as quickly as possible so that you don't have to waste time and so that you don't have to spend many sessions like I did early on trying to identify which vegetation will work well using this process. And it was interesting during the boot camp seeing the questions that came in, because people have the same questions time and time again. But there was one about eco printing on 3-dimensional pieces, and I just have a few videos or images that I'd like to share here. And this just is showing me eco printing a felt bag, because often people are concerned, how will they print something that's 3-dimensional? And it could be a commercial hat, or it could be any sort of heavier duty 3-dimensional piece of fabric. In this case, it's a felt bag, and I prepared it exactly the same way as all my other fabric. And then I've squashed it flat, so it looks very flat there on the table. This is a simple bag. Then I'm wrapping it with vegetation, tying it, and I made simple cord handles. Now, in fact, the tutorial for this is in the club library, but I made the handles, and then when it came to opening everything up, you can see here, great prints, what it looks like while it's still wet, and then what it looks like when it has been washed out, dried, and reshaped into a 3-dimensional piece. So it's not only flat felt fabric clothing that you can print, but you can also print 3-dimensionally as well. So I would like to run through what the club actually entails, because that's why you may be here, just to learn a little bit more about the club. So it's a way that you can say goodbye to feeling overwhelmed and hello to colorful and complex prints from the dirty pot. There's no necessity to be a felt maker to join me and other people on this wonderful journey. But if you are a felt maker, felt takes the color absolutely beautifully. And you can see here, this is a felt pod. The tutorial for that is also in the library. I have been studying myself recently, and I have these new road maps for success. And during last night's live stream, Karen, one of my club members, was there. And Karen actually made a comment and just saying she really loved these new road maps. And so you're not going to be able to read all the individual text there, but basically the darker color at the top, that's a level. Then the next step is a milestone, and then action step. So when people join the club now, these are new. It just means that you can identify it from the eco-printing perspective or the wet felting perspective. You can identify where you are, and then you know the action steps that you need to do to really concentrate on to move yourself forward to the next level on this roadmap for success. And because people come in to the club with all different levels of experience, there are people with a lot of experience, and there are people who came in with absolutely no eco-printing or maybe no wet felting experience. So those roadmaps will allow you identify where you are, and just mean that you don't have to worry about anything else in the library. All you do is concentrate on what you need to learn to get the results you want and move to the next level where you would like to be. So, 1 second. You learn pro tips to achieve the color and the results that you want. And obviously that would include guidance on the pot liquid, the fabric, the vegetation, the metal use, printing in different pots, etc., etc. And then from the felting perspective, many people who join the club are not wet felters. In fact, I would say that most people who have joined the club to date to work more closely with me, they have come because they are interested in eco-printing in an environmentally mindful and health conscious way. But almost all of them have started to felt now, because when they see the results that people who felt are getting on their own handmade fabric, they also want to try that as well. So I give plenty of insider tips and techniques, step-by-step videos for achieving the results that you want. And I think it's interesting to learn as well how to felt using the tumble dryer, for example, rather than having to do all the rubbing and rolling by hand. Because as we get older, I know myself, my back gives me trouble at times, and also my elbows and sometimes my wrists, because I'm doing a lot of repetitive work. So by replacing all the rubbing and rolling with the tumble dryer method, it just means that that you don't have that physicality, but you have all the enjoyment. And one of the most popular sections in the library is probably just about Nuno felting. That's learning to combine fabric and fiber together. And this particular piece in this this wrap here, this was created in white, and then it was eco-printed afterwards. Here's a simple felt vessel, again, felted in white and eco-printed afterwards. And pieces like this one here, this was a piece that actually sold first at a solo show I had in 2016. This is a wall hanging from my dry stone wall series. And in this case, I used eco-printed silk and I combined it with black wool, and this is a wall hanging, and it's inspired by the dry stone walls on my property. And in fact, with some fabric, you know, if you're not 100% happy with your eco prints, you can always overprint, which I share as well. But sometimes I will use pieces that I'm not as happy with, and I will cut them up and I will incorporate them into felt. And some of the lighter grayer color pieces on this were really perfect because they were inspired by the dry stone walls, which are granite here. But as individual pieces of eco-printed silk, they weren't my favorite. But when they were combined with the wool, I really loved the effect, and I really liked that wall hanging. And don't let the changing seasons hold you back. We live in different time zones, we live in different climates, and as a club member, you'll have access to an extensive library of knowledge and resources, including vegetation that I have found gives really, really good prints, and that is whatever the weather. And I see a question has actually come in from Mars, and she's asking, she's been eco printing for 6 months, and she's wondering why the Eucalyptus nicolai differs in the color that it's giving in the summer and the winter. Now that's very interesting, Mars, because in my case here in Ireland, I find that my nicolai leaves give me the same color in the summer and winter. However, I find that my cider gum or Eucalyptus archery, those leaves can give very, very different colors depending on the season and how much rain we have had recently. So there could be two things. It could be that your pot liquid has got significantly darker. You have a lot more iron if you're reusing the pot liquid a lot. So it could be as simple as that the iron is influencing the color more, or it may just be your climatic conditions right now or the season. And it is important to understand that in different seasons, some of the vegetation prints differently. And those are the sort of things that we discuss in the club. We have regular Q&A sessions every month, live ones with me, and I can answer questions for you during that. So in the club, I mean, I don't want to be throwing all the stuff at you, but I think it's important that you know what actually is contained in the club. So there are so many step-by-step videos broken down into smaller sections. So you don't have to do every single bit on the one day. And it just takes you through so many different eco-printing techniques and processes, and watching me in the studio working and seeing, you know, how I fold and roll things. Obviously the same with wet felting. PDFs and checklists to download. 2 live calls each month. So every month we have a club training via Zoom, and every month we have a Q&A session via Zoom. So the training is something that either I facilitate or I have an invited textile artist who joins me, and they do a training. All those trainings are available for you. So for example, Kim Titichai, a wonderful textile artist, did a great training about design. And recently, my good friend Mairead Houlihan did a really interesting training about making ink from plants and using that on paper and fabric. And again, we're all working in environmentally mindful ways. So Mairead was specifically talking about making inks and that would be suitable to use without using traditional powdered mordants. But we also have some hands-on Zoom workshops, and the way that they I'll be offering one as a bonus for everybody who joins the club, but we will have more during the year as well. And so what happens with those is I split them out over 2 days. We have one day that's devoted to wet felting, and then one day that's devoted to eco printing. Both are standalone days. So if you wanted to print and not felt, or vice versa, that's no problem. But the last one that we did, we felted a scarf. So I was sharing how to make a longer piece on a smaller table. It was a felt scarf with holes and a special design of mine. So we made a scarf on the first day, and then about a week and a half later, on our second hands-on session, we eco-printed. And those sessions are great because I'll hold a Zoom session in the morning, early in the morning, Irish time, in the middle of the day, and in the evening. So regardless of where you are in the world, you can join in at some stage. You can chat to the other participants, you can show us your work, you can ask your questions, you can ask for feedback. And in fact, many people in the club have stayed up during the night in some of these sessions because they wanted to show everybody their completed pieces. So those are great fun. So there would be a tutorial posted online about what we are doing. Then you get the opportunity to look at the tutorial, then to make the piece, and then to share your results. So those are great fun. Well, I think they're great fun. Then also in the club, plenty of information about eco-printing on paper, on using tannin and iron reactions without traditional powdered mordants. So those are fantastic if you want to get a colorful background on your silk. So it's not possible when you're working without mordants, you know, in the dirty pot to get, let's say, a blue or a pink background. Because unless you mordant your fabric, if you process your bundles in cochineal, for example, you need the mordant to help you get that color onto the fabric. Whereas when you're doing the tannin and iron reactions, you can experiment with different types of tannin and you can achieve different background colors on your fabric. So for example, oak galls give more of a purple color. You can get really rich dark colors with black tea and softer colors with pomegranate. So that tannin and iron is an interesting section. I think once you have mastered the foundations of submerging in the dirty pot, then moving on to steaming and iron blankets and tannin and iron. And I just see that we have one of our founding club members, Tammy, has joined in. Woohoo, Tammy, thank you so much for joining us. Tammy is in California and a very valued member of the club. It's lovely to see you here, Tammy. So thanks after midnight, and here she is. Thank you very much. So Simplicose, very interesting plant-based mordant. There's a section about using Simplicose in the library. This is a plant that absorbs alum in its leaves, and then the plant is dried and the leaves are powdered, and it is used in a very different way than metal salts. So Simplicose as a plant-based mordant is something that I do touch on in the library, as well as a little bit about indigo and combining it with print. And then at the end of this month, July, I will be printing on leather in my studio, and that is all going to get added to the club library at the beginning of August. So it's been on the cards for a while to include some printing on leather in the library, but sometimes life gets in the way, and I have not managed to actually get the videos recorded yet, but they will be done. Then also, people and questions came up during the boot camp about, you know, how to fold larger pieces like a big blanket or a coat or garments with sleeves. And there are videos in the library sharing about that. And I have some more to actually add to it as soon as they are edited also. And sewing to print, printing to sew, felting to sew, and natural dyeing. So if you look at these colors on the right-hand side here, these two pieces are both felt. It's a combination of wool and silk. And the eco-printed piece was eco-printed using eucalyptus leaves from my own trees. And then the really rich goldy orange color was dyed using red giving eucalyptus from my trees. So there's a whole section in the library about natural dyeing in a reactive pot without using traditional powdered mordants, because there are different different types of vegetation that you can use if you want to get an all over even color, and you can dye in an aluminium pot without using mordants and get substantive color. So we had a great challenge, and it was the Brooklyn Coat Challenge. In fact, Tammy, who's with us, she made the most wonderful coat, and she chose to actually make her coat in blue, and she had a blue fabric that she then dyed some of the sections with dark prints, and so it looked really sophisticated and fantastic. So printing your own fabric and sewing with it, or felting and then sewing, or sewing and then printing what you've made, those are all really interesting things which are covered in the library. Plenty about upcycling clothing. It's a big passion of mine. And so then really, I suppose the questions that you need to ask yourself: are you committed to mastering the eco-printing in the Dirty Pot process? The club is for people who really want to drive their results forward and are happy to learn and be part of a really nice group of people. We have a lovely private Facebook group, and you know, there's plenty of interaction with me and with everybody else in the group. People become friends with each other. Some people meet up with each other if they live in the same country. So it's really, are you committed to getting the results you want faster with my help in a supportive group? The same in relation to your wet felting. Are you interested in eco-printing your felt and learning how to create beautiful but simple pieces of felt that you will be able to wear or use or enjoy for years to come? And so you may be asking, how much does the membership cost, and is there a money back guarantee? Absolutely. So that's what I'll just move on to now. So the membership is open until a minute to midnight. So it closes at 11:59 p.m. on Monday, the 17th of July. And there are two different options for registering. There's an annual fee of $990 US, or a monthly fee of $99 per month. And there's a full money back, a 14-day money back guarantee with both those options. So if you chose to join and join as an annual member, you actually get 2 months free if you pay the $990. So if you join as an annual member, and before the 14-day money back guarantee is up, if you decide it's not for you, it's no quibble. I give you your money back. I'm not going to have an argument with you, because I only want people to join me who are interested in working with me. This is meant to be fun. It's hard work for me, and I'm there to answer your questions and help you and give you feedback, etc. So I only want to work with people who want to work with me. So there's a full no quibble 14-day money back guarantee. And then if you pay the $99 per month, if you're not sure if this is for you, the monthly option is a good option, because that's where you pay your $99 per month. And there is also the 14-day money back guarantee. So if you really, after the first 14 days, if you think it's not for you, you'll get your $99 back. But if you continue and you decide at any stage that you want to stop, it's like a Netflix subscription or a subscription to Sky or something. You just cancel your subscription, and then your access to the library and all the content and our private group, all the benefits of being in the club, that all just ends when your next subscription date would be due. So you can cancel the monthly subscription at any stage during the year. The $990 subscription, that's an annual subscription. So you're locked in for the year if you choose that option. So really, I suppose the question is, will you join me? Are you interested in joining a fantastic group of all ladies, in fact, at the moment, but that doesn't mean we won't welcome men? Are you interested in joining a wonderful group who support each other and who share the triumphs and who empathize if there are things that don't go quite according to plan, because often there are, or if things go differently? we can all chip in and help and give feedback and support and encouragement. So the link to join is in the video description below. And I'd ask Shauna maybe just to drop it into the comments. And if you have any comments or questions that you would like to ask me about the club, this is the time to ask them. I know it's a small group of people here this morning, because yesterday we had quite a few people on the call, but most people yesterday came from the other side of the world. So if there's anyone here with a question, now is the time to ask. I'll just pop up. I'll just pop this up here. Here's a testimonial actually from Karen, and Karen says the highlight of her year has been participating in the EcoPrint and Wet Felt Club. Thank you, Karen. Gillian is in Australia, and she says that she has a whole new world open up in her textiles work. Gillian has been great and is a great and active participant. She comes to all the Zoom calls that she's able to, and she has a wealth of information already, but she's really, really enjoying the club. So it's great. And she says, I'm a generous and detailed teacher and always ready to answer everyone's questions. And Gillian likes the ethical and sustainability aspect of it. And she's also always up for the next challenge. And that's true. And then here is a testimonial from Anne. And again, Anne is a wonderful contributor in the club. And Anne was concerned, you know, before she joined the club, she, as she says herself, she didn't have a creative bone in her body, and she wished that she did. And her world has changed since she's taken up eco-printing. So the step-by-step tutorials in the club, they've given her the confidence that she never had, and she's addicted to eco-printing, and she enjoys the benefits of the club. So thank you, Anne, for that lovely testimonial. So I don't think there are any questions. Oh, Sally does have a question here. It's just flashed up now, so please get them in now. Sally, I'm afraid the club it only opens for membership a couple of times a year. It opened in January and it's opening now. It's possible it will open at the beginning of December or the end of November, but it might be January again. And the reason that I don't open it up all the time is that when new people join, I want to really help them, everybody at the same time. And it's too confusing if people are joining at different times. So I'm afraid, no, if you don't join now, you will have to wait until the next time, which at the earliest will be November, but most likely later in the year or January again. So I'm sorry that is not an option now. It is a good question though. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, perfect. I'll just pop Shauna back on the screen. Shauna, thank you so much for fielding everything. And Shauna and I wish you all the best, and we really look forward to welcoming some of you into the club. Shauna is there as well as me to help. She's really, really there behind the scenes and always on top of emails and questions if I happen to be on the road, and I'm in charge of all the creative stuff. So thank you all so much, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Over and out from Ireland and from Greece.